All right, let's talk about something that trips up a lot of people in the Indian education world. You've definitely heard the acronyms, right? NCTE, NCERT, and SCRT. They're everywhere. But let's be real, it can feel like a confusing alphabet soup. Who's in charge of what, and why does it even matter? You hear these letters thrown around all the time, but the lines get blurry. Does one write the textbooks while another approves who gets to be a teacher? Do their jobs overlap? It's a super common question, trying to figure out where one job ends and the next one begins. Well, if you've ever been confused by this, guess what? You are definitely not alone. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to untangle this knot and make the roles of these incredibly important bodies absolutely crystal clear. Okay, so let's dive right in and introduce the three main players here. Think of them as the three core pillars of the system. Each one has a very specific and vital role to play. They're not competitors, they're specialists on the same team. First up, we've got the NCTE, that's the National Council for Teacher Education. And honestly, that's the key word you gotta remember, teacher. The NCTE is the official referee, the gatekeeper for any institution that wants to train teachers. If a college wants to offer a B.Ed, for example, the NCTE is the one that says yes or no. They set the rules. Next up, the NCERT, the National Council of Educational Research and Training. Now, here's a great way to think of them. They're the national architect of our school system. They're the ones who draw up the master blueprint for the whole country, designing the national curriculum and creating those model textbooks we all know. And that brings us to our third pillar, the SCERT, the State Council of Educational Research and Training. So if NCERT is the national architect with that big blueprint, the SCERT is like the on-the-ground builder at the state level. They take that national plan and adapt it, tweak it, so it fits the specific culture and needs of their state. So there you have it, a regulator, an architect, and a state-level player. Now let's put their jobs side by side, because understanding these distinct roles is the absolute key to clearing up all the confusion. And this chart just lays it all out perfectly. Look at NCTE. Its role is statutory regulator. That's just a fancy way of saying they have actual legal teeth. They have power. Their job is all about teacher education, and they operate nationally. Then there's NCERT, also national, but look at its role, academic and advisory. They don't have that same legal power. They advise, they create the model, and SCERT, it's the mirror image, but at the state level. It takes that national advice and implements it. So one has a legal power, one advises the nation, and one puts it all into practice locally. It's a pretty smart system. And this is so important to remember. You might think they'd be stepping on each other's toes, but they're not. All three of them are aiming for the exact same thing, a better quality of education for every single student. They just take very different, very specialized paths to get there. All right, theory is great, but let's see how this all works in the real world. Putting these ideas into practice is where it really starts to click. Let's run through a couple of quick scenarios. Okay, scenario number 1. Let's say you want to open a brand new college to train teachers. Who do you call? Simple. You go straight to the NCTE, and only the NCTE. You can't go to NCERT or SCERT for this. The NCTE is the one that's going to investigate your campus, your faculty, everything before giving that final legally binding stamp of approval. They are the sole gatekeeper here. Now, let's look at a scenario that shows how they all play together as a team, updating the nation's textbooks. The whole thing starts with the national architect, NCERT, creating the new framework. Then, that framework gets passed down to each state's SCERT, which customizes it. But wait, it doesn't stop there. The loop gets closed by the NCTE, which then steps in to update the teacher training curriculum. This ensures that educators are actually prepared to teach the new stuff. See? It's like a perfectly coordinated dance. All right, let's lock all this in. I've got a super simple memory trick for you so you never, ever mix these three up again. You ready? So, anytime you hear the words teachers and regulations in the same sentence, the rules, the approvals, your brain should immediately go to NCTE. The T is for teacher. Simple as that. Okay, and when the conversation is about the national curriculum, that big blueprint for the whole country, or the model textbooks, that's NCERT. The N is for national, you got it. And finally, when you're talking about adapting that big national plan for one specific state or training teachers within that state, Boom. You think SCERT. S is for state. So you've got your regulator for teachers, your national architect, and your state implementer. Ncte, Ncert, SCERT. And just like that, the alphabet soup should look a whole lot clearer. Hopefully, you can now see how these three crucial bodies fit together to make the whole system work. It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? What other confusing part of our education system should we demystify next?